once I got there, I stayed there basically until the place closed. And the 2001 like model year was my first full model year of Mustang that I worked on. And we actually did quite a bit because we had the basic changes that were made that year to the interior of the car, but then also the Bullitt that was planned and a relaunch of the Cobra and a new manual transmission. So it was kind of a very busy year. And for me, having grown up kind of around Mustang, and my parents both had them before I was born, but I knew about the movie, right? I had seen it. My dad and uncle used to talk about it all the time. And all of a sudden I hear about this secret program called the Bullitt. So it kind of blew me away that we were going to do it. And of course saw that thematically, how great it was. And what I really loved about the program is it was a really small team. And at the time, DAP had been around for so many years and was starting to be talked about that it might close the doors, and it just didn't get a lot of support from around the company. So it was kind of this maverick ragtag group that launched the car. And so we were given an incredible amount of autonomy to make it happen. And so that was fun. We were making decisions on the fly, and basically the team was really impassioned about the product, Mustang in general, and of course the Bullitt. So it was great to kind of fly under the radar a little bit and make the car happen. It was done with a very, very small budget. And I think most people are kind of aware it started as like this show car theme, and it gained a lot of interest. And before you knew it, it took off, and Art and Scott Hogue kind of helped lead the charge within the company to make it happen. And at the time, my role was in a group called New Model Programs, who managed new launches at the plant. And it was kind of funny. My manager at the time was at the very tail end of his career, and he was already living out of Atlanta, so he really wasn't in Michigan a lot. My other boss was working oftentimes out of Chicago and Atlanta, and they were just kind of like, go get the job done and call us if you need us. And so before you know it, I was just kind of like the launch guy leading the program from that perspective. And so very quickly I got my hands involved in a lot of stuff, and it was fun. I mean, the plant embraced the car because, again, the history of Mustang and of the Bullitt, it really resonated with everybody on the shop floor. And, again, like I said, we had such a small budget that when problems would arise, we'd have to kind of convince the line operators ways to do things creatively. And oftentimes that was done with like bringing them free T-shirts or model cars and stuff. And it just worked, a lot of good camaraderie there. And it was really cool because like things like a lot of people are familiar that there's a special label that goes on the shock tower of those cars. And we basically came up with that design one night on the midnight shift, like how we would manage those. Sitting at a table, you always hear drawing it up on a napkin. Well, that's literally what we did. A picnic table on the second floor of DAP. We said, well, there's two per car. Where are we going to hide one that nobody would find it? And if you damage the car, it would basically be totaled. And we decided to put it underneath the rear seat on the seat riser. Then we also realized we needed to have an extra one in case the operator screwed up putting the sticker on. Before you know it, we figured out like put it on a perforated, piece of plastic, put 3 of them, and it just kind of happened. And it all happened within an hour while we're having a snack on the midnight lunch break. And it was just stuff like that that made the program a lot of fun. That really doesn't happen as much today because things are a lot more controlled. So I don't know, I'll stop because I've been talking a lot. I mean, I could talk about a lot of stories. I don't know if you have any questions or Tony or anybody else.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you touching on the serialized number and back of the napkin, because I know when I was talking to you ahead of the book being written and you were telling me this, I was kind of laughing because I thought, that's not really true. That's just a cliche. And then here you tell me, it was the back of the napkin. We figured this out. So it's awesome. Thank you. It's a great introduction into it. And again, I want to let folks know I am recording these sessions. I did start the button a little late, so just to make sure we got it on a recording. Thank you, Nick Terzes, who was the launch manager for the 2001 Bullitt, and we got good part more as the time goes forward here. And long live Dearborn Assembly Plant. That was quite a historic place, as you as you mentioned there. I'd like to get next, just for a few words, Shawn Carney.
Oh,
And
can I just interject? Sorry, Tony. Can I just interject? I just want to ask Nick a quick question. How much input did Jack Roush have? I know he did the original Bullitt, the 2000 Bullitt, right? That's in his museum right now. So just want to try to understand what his actual input was.
Yeah, my understanding is that from a design standpoint, he really didn't have any input. They helped with that car, that first show car. But for the most part, the design studio, Sean Tant did all the original design work on the car. And there was some input from the program team, Scott and company, in terms of what the car needed to look the part, and also to kind of, not everybody knew, say, the movie and what the Bullitt was. So a lot of people say, well, why'd you make a black and a blue one? Well, we have to make money on programs when we build them, and we wanted to also make a car that was super cool for other people that might not, understand the history or might not want green. And so there was kind of this combined input between the studio and powertrain and the program planning team. And but for the most part, Roush, other than some engineering support, they didn't really come up with the theme or design it or anything like that.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Norm. And by the way, I would encourage you to take a look in Mustang Bullitt Generations, because we do cover the difference between the design car, the concept car, and the prototype reflective of the production Bullitt in that car. We talked to, got a chance to talk to some of the folks that were involved with both, and Nick mentioned one of them, the design person, Shawn Chan. So thanks for that, Norm. Let's go ahead and jump to Shawn. And Shawn, I was very happy to meet you around the time the 2008 Bullitt was coming out. And I love hearing the stories about your contributions in that program. So I'd love for you to take us back to that time, share what your responsibilities were, and then some of the things that you shared with me that we covered in the book.
Sure, thanks, Tony. Just to introduce myself, so I'm Shawn Carney. I worked at Ford for 20 years. Prior to that, I worked for Roush for a little while, and I'm originally from Clearwater, Florida. So I'm the first generation at Ford for my family. So I'm a lot like many of you. I'm not from Michigan, and so for me, moving up here, I went to school in Michigan, and all I wanted to do was get a job at Ford and work on the Mustang. And so yeah, it's kind of funny looking back, when I tell people what I wanted to do, they're like, yeah, whatever. I don't think they really got it. And so getting the chance to work on the car, I worked on a few cars when I was at Roush. I remember installing thermocouples on 99 Cobra prototypes back in 1996 or 7 or something, down at Danow Tech Center. It's a lovely facility. It used to be like a Montgomery Ward's warehouse or something. And then I worked on the 2000 Cobra R. So I did that when I was at Roush. And then when I came over to Roush, when I came over to Ford in 2000, I worked on the hottest product we made, which was the town car. Worked on that for a few years, but I got to work on the Marauder. And then I was lucky enough, I had a new manager come in, and he was really great. He's like, hey, we're reorganizing. We're going to have these cars available to work on. And he's like, which one do you want to work on? And so I'm like, Mustang, an easy choice. So that was in April of 2003. And I worked on Mustang through the end of 2016. And then I went on an overseas assignment. So kind of weird walking away from a job I'd had for all that time, but I loved it. I got to work with guys like Nick and Tom, and they're a rare breed. It was just a really wonderful experience overall working with these guys, and there's a lot more that have come and gone within the team on Mustang over the years, and So just a lot of good memories, you know. And I think of like when I work in the car, I really just see my friends' faces. You know, when I see the cars going down the road. So if I see the '08 Bullitt going down the road, you know, I think of Tom and us goofing off in San Francisco on the, you know, shaking down the media cars. And uh, you know, we were finding these really wicked roads somewhere around San Francisco Bay that had all these undulations in them where they were nuts. And um, I mean, we like, I don't know, I think I did like a big donut, and it was like it made a perfect circle, and Tom was admiring it, so we took a picture of it. Got the picture somewhere. Um, I don't know. It's just I have a lot of good memories like that of working on these cars, so it's very personal to me in that way. Um, but anyways, working on the '08, '09 Bullets. Yeah, like when we started the program, I mean, honestly, like I remember hearing about what it was going to be, and I was like, I don't know, come on, like this is kind of weak, you know. And I think that was the general flavor amongst a lot of the team. And um, I just remember being in discussions. You know, a lot of these were with Tom, and the team quickly kind of brought together a good package of what ended up in production. And so the area that I worked in, kind of skipped over this. Most of my career I spent in noise and vibration work, primarily powertrain, but on Mustang I tended to work on the whole car at different times. Not that that was really my assignment, but I'm kind of like Nick. If I don't like something, or if I'm not happy with something, I stick my nose in to try and, you know, to help my teammates get it straightened out. Not everybody that works on Mustang is a Mustang enthusiast, but they're all good engineers and they're all trying their best. So it's good to have, you know, it's like good to have guys like Nick, you know, that can point people in the right direction on, you know, what the heritage of the car really means to customers. And I was a customer. Just I think between my brothers and I, we've had like 9, 10, 11 cars. I mean, that was all before we were like 25 years old or something. Everybody slowed down since then. So we definitely get like what it means to all you guys and men and women out there buying the cars. So my contribution on the '08 car really just had a lot to do with the character of the car. So the exhaust development. I initially the car wasn't really supposed to have anything other than the off-the-shelf parts, and then we convinced Paul Randall uh, to, you know, we need to spend a few bucks to give this car, you know, the character that it needs. You know, I had in my mind like what I wanted to do at the time. Like it was one of the first cars I'd really worked on the exhaust in any real deep, meaningful way. So you know, we just did some experimentation with our supplier. We had you know, we had some good partners with our suppliers. And I mean, one thing I always try to say when I talk to people is, like when I say like I worked on NVH, I was a part of a team that worked on it. There are a lot of people that go into putting these cars together and developing them into what you get. So you know, the exhaust work, in a lot of ways, I kind of think of it as, you know, I'm trying to direct people which way to go with their part designs. Sometimes I can help with designing the bits and pieces that go on the car, but there's a whole other crew that makes sure that, you know, these parts are durable and you know, they make it to the plant on time and they actually fit on the car and they fit in the dunnage, you know, the big storage racks or the shipping racks that you know, that can actually get to the factory. And yeah, so I mean, just maybe one quick story was when we were developing the car, I was out in Arizona. It was one of the first few years we were working out of Arizona. Before that we had worked out in Naples, Florida in the wintertime. So we were out in Phoenix. I'm guessing this was like winter of 2006, something like that. And we had a pretty good concept together of what the car should be from like an acoustic standpoint, that kind of experience we were trying to give. We thought we had a pretty good package all put together. And this car had the engine in it, had the 373s, and I just contacted a local car club. I was like, hey, meet me at I don't even remember. It's like one of these like drive-in kind of restaurants, like hamburger joints. And I was like, yeah, just get like 10, 12 people, have them bring their cars. We'll have a little car show. Yeah, so I just took everybody for rides and kind of blasting around Phoenix a bit. Just had a little route that we made up, just to kind of give everybody like a 5 or 10 minute ride. And so I just took all the feedback from that, and helped reinforce that we had the right character in mind. Yeah, that was a fun night because there was a dude that showed up with like a 9-second Fox body, and so he's like, "You want to go for a ride in my car?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And that's the first time I'd been in a car that was smoking the tires in 4th gear getting on the freeway. And it was pretty fun. So, but yeah, it's and I'll say, Tom's gonna talk next. Tom is and Tom's really modest. He's like one of the finest people that I've ever worked with. He's a good friend, and he's really good at what he does. And what he does is he has to juggle the expectations of a lot of type A personality executives, a lot of high-strung engineers like me, who get like super passionate about things, and we get these blinders on, and he's got to sit there and like, calm down, it'll work out. And so yeah, he's really awesome, and it sucks not working with you, Tom.
Thank you, Shawn. And what a great lead in for Tom. Tom is a bit of a movie star. I first saw his screen debut in A Faster Horse, which was the movie that was made about the S550 Mustang and the lead up to the 50th anniversary of Mustang. And Tom, they had scenes with you, I think, doing a hockey thing or skating or something. You were looking pretty good there. So I think you gave a good account of yourself there in that movie, and I'd encourage anyone who has not seen that movie to watch that movie, and they'll get to see Tom in action. With that kind of a lead-in from Shawn there, Tom, I'd love to hear your recollections, both of '08 and '09, which I think Shawn touched on some, and then 1920, because boy, that car made a big splash because of the introduction of it alongside the car from the movie, which was its inspiration. So, Tom, if you could take us through a little bit here, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks for everyone to call in and participate and care about Mustang enough to take some time. The one thing that I think there's no question about, and that's kind of fueled myself and fueled a lot of others, is that the people who have Mustangs or have some kind of experience with Mustangs, they love Mustang, and and just by looking at you guys as customers, most of you have many stories, and you know so much, and you have an emotional tie to the vehicle or what the vehicle means to you or your family. That's kind of what fuels us to keep trying to make it better or more fun or a different kind of fun, because everyone likes different things. So I want to thank you for caring and for participating and calling in, and hopefully in the future getting to drive some new Mustang that you've dreamed about for many years. So thank you. I've gotten to work with so many people who are great people and met so many great customers. So over time, and now actually customers around the world, which has been really, really neat over the past few years. So in any case, I mean, I could go on a million stories. I do want to just pay Nick a little bit of due, which I know people know, but Nick, he's owned, I don't know how many Mustangs, but many Mustangs. He knows more about Mustang than I think anyone I know. He actually, before he's working on Mustang again now in product development, but he just actually did a short marketing stint for Mustang. So he really does help us all know what the history is and what it is that people want. So, and I've got to work with Nick for many years, and he's such a strong engineer. It's not even funny. And then combined with that knowledge and the passion, it's great. So thank you, Nick. And then Shawn, Shawn in a very similar vein as Nick. He knows a ton about Mustangs, about cars. He has a total passion. He did a lot of NVH things that he said, but he did other things. I remember Nick or Shawn, he's doing the quarter-mile runs on the car because he knows how to drive a car, and he wants to do it. And Shawn and I have got to work together for so long also. And as he said, we haven't been working together for a few years, and it's just good to see him back here and maybe in the future. So anyway, enough on that. But anyway, I'll just tell you, I remember I've been the vehicle engineering manager on Mustang for a little over 15 years, which is a long time, especially at Ford, to be in the same type of job. And actually, my first blush with Mustang at Ford, actually, when I got green belt certified, which is kind of a Six Sigma thing where you do, I don't know, you see a problem and then you're supposed to solve it using engineering mechanisms, was at Dearborn, the Dearborn plant, working on, I think, a 2003 Mustang. Nick was there in the plant. And the issue had to do with the convertible top had like a pinhole leak in the header. And I figured out that the sealing material that was bonding the pieces of metal together basically was way out of date. But I got to, traipse around that plant, and, that plant had wood floors in it. And it was, old style block wood floors back from, years ago. So it was just a wild experience. But anyway, from that, got to work on 2005 quite a bit, which was a great car. And soon afterward, we got to start working on the 2008 and 9. And, I think Bullitt has, the movie sets it up. And I think there's many things that the movie kind of set up. Was one, Steve McQueen, he's just mega cool. The car was just kind of mega cool. And then the whole movie, the way they did it, the scene, it was kind of in that noir deal. Just the word cool just keeps coming to mind, understated cool. And so Nick's team and Art Hyde's team had done it, back in 2001. And so then it became the 40th, and we said, we got to do this. We got to get an engine, though. And I will just tell you, the one thing I remember a lot about that effort and development was, I believe we met every day for about a year and a half trying to figure out how to get that intake system to work. And it was so painful. The supplier it was painful, but we kept just trying and trying, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't even remember what we got out of it, but we got something out of it. But we also got, it's the character that Shawn talked about. The car has to have character, and the character has to, it's like its personality. So that almost became symbolic for me of the personality. And then, the sound that went along with it that Shawn did, tons on, or maybe, yeah. And it just kind of put it together like, oh, this is a cool car. And I was looking at parts, I have different things around, and I think is that the shifter ball from yeah. This thing was, I just remember people going crazy that, oh, but if it's in the sun, it gets really, really hot. It makes your hand hot. And it was like, well, who cares? It's cool, you know? And so I really liked the shifter ball. So anyway, it was a great thing to be able to build on the 2005 and make the 2008. And, you know, it was just a cool project. And then I'll just say the media events at Ford for Mustang, media events are fantastic. They're always great. And I believe at that media event, we had a lot of customers come out to San Francisco. And I don't know if you were there, Tony, but we had a good handful of customers aside from, were you there, Tony? Or?
I wasn't, but a member of the Bullitt Club was there. His name was Greg Autry. But,
Okay,
yeah,
I
he
remember
was
the
one of
name.
our
Yeah.
club. Mhm.
The media events are a lot of fun because you're developing material, but you're developing routes. You get to drive, you get to do things that are kind of fun and whatever. But it was a great event, and so that was a lot of fun. I'll just say for 2019, that Bullitt, you know, the key thing on that, I mean, again, we got an engine, and we got a lot more engine in a way, which was a great thing. It was like, let's get some kind of an engine by putting the GT350 on there, the intake manifold and all. And then the sound, we got it to sound different. And I guess on all these cars, we haven't even mentioned this, the looks are hugely important. I mean, that's what draws anyone to any car. So, I mean, design, the style, that is what does it. And then if you can drive the car and it's fun or you hear it, that just builds on you, but you got to have the looks. And I think all three of these cars looked great. But I'll just say in 2019, again, I think the understated, it kind of looks, and I don't know where I heard this recently, but I just read something recently that, oh, I know where, it's Car and Driver. They were doing a long-term on a Bullitt, and they're saying that a lot of people still are like, what kind of car is that? Because it doesn't really say Mustang on there. They think it's cool. They're like, that car's cool, whatever. So anyway, the appearance and then the engine and then the sound, and then the one thing which was added for 19 is we did the rev match downshifting on the manuals. Anyway, that car just ended up being, and really the 2008 had some of this same exact thing, that it's a great touring car. It has some go in it, but it doesn't beat you up. It doesn't beat you up. You can drive it all the time, daily driver, and then have fun, and it can just take you to a different place, like a vacation every day. So, but another thing really fun about the 2019, which I didn't quite get to, was the Shawn Carney experience, and the fact that it was 50 years, and he had got that Bullitt car with an incredible story, which I think all of you know now. But then he worked with people who made sure the car got vetted correctly and that it was going to be addressed right. And then, to be honest, the way Ford handled it with him, because there were such great people who were working on it with him, it was great. He had a year of unbelievable, that's untouchable. I mean, taking that car, you know, everywhere from the National Mall to England to California streets, you know, in San Francisco. And tying that all together, and then also taking the Bullitt global, which had never been global, and all these people from these countries and they barely speak, you know, English or whatever, and they're like, Bullitt. And, you know, they would, at some of the media events, you know, the media people would dress up as Steve McQueen or something, you know, have a black turtleneck on and all this stuff. Just again, so much fun. And really, that's again what Mustang's about, is fun. And we want people to feel good and to you know, love their lives and be able to just, you know, love each day. And so anyway, that's a couple of things that have come to my mind. and that's a little bit long, but thanks for indulging me, and I'll turn it back to you, Tony.
No, thank you, Tom. I could listen to each of you guys, and I did for a while in preparation for the book, but I could listen to more of those stories. There's so many nuances to it, and I'll tell you this, and then we'll open it up for questions. Um, Across each of these cars, it's been my experience that the passion of the engineers really, not that other people who worked on it didn't have the passion too, but the passion of the engineers really sticks out, or at least I've been able to see that a lot, because uh, all three of you guys have been very visible in the enthusiast community at Mustang Alley in the city of Ferndale, Michigan during the Woodward Dream Cruise weekend. And it's really cool that you come out and spend your time to do that. You guys got busy lives between work and your families, and things you probably want to do outside of work as well. But we know that. Of course, as the questions get open up here, and I think thank Norm for getting in the first one there, talking to Nick. But I think you'll probably hear some of that passion coming out in some of the questions, or at least I hope you do. So we're just really glad that you made it here. And with that, I'd like to open up the floor. Again, Norm, thank you for our first question this evening. We were talking to Nick, but would like to open the floor for anyone who'd like to ask anything of any of the panelists here.
I've got a couple of questions I'm curious regarding the 19s and 20s. Is the only difference between those two the 4G Wi-Fi, or are there other differences that maybe I've missed? And the other part of that question is, as far as other countries' spec, how much difference is there in those cars? If I recall what I've seen, for instance, the vacuum and oil pressure gauges are not on the dash of some of those cars. So are they performance pack cars, or what are some of the differences, I guess?
Yeah, hi, it's Tom, and I'll thanks, Bob. I'll try to answer, although I'm not going to know all this stuff. Between 19 and 20, there's very little difference between the cars, and if you recognize the 4G, then that's I buy it. As far as anything else goes, I mean, boy, I mean, 20 from our perspective was kind of a quiet year, so I don't really think there's much difference unless just something had to change or we had to move something around a little bit. And I don't know, Nick, feel free to speak up if you know some marketing things, or Shawn for that matter. As far as the differences between, a North American spec car and the rest of the world, most of and I'll just say the way we think about Mustang is we think about it as, I'm not trying to say this in the way it might sound, but it's a Mustang, and it's an American car. And then we're selling that around the world. And to be honest, that's part of why people probably love it, is because it is an American car in a good sense of the word, and so really what we only basically did was make sure that the car was homologated for these other countries. It has the same tuning as our car does. It's not like we tune it in Europe to be a stiffer ride, or for China that it's a smoother ride or something. It's the same exact tuning we have here. So, but when you start to look around the world, there's a couple things that maybe those markets are a little more sensitive to. So, they didn't get, a 373 axle, they have a 355 axle. They have it sounds dumb, different side mirrors that are, what makes it legal. They have different exhaust levels because they can't get different countries have different legal requirements. So you have to tune the exhaust differently, and you have to maybe add, actually change the muffler tuning as well. So I'll say it doesn't sound as good, but you know, it's what you have to do, and you make the best of it. Certain, I'm trying to think, you know, like the Bullitt in Australia, as well as the normal car in Australia, doesn't get line lock because they have anti-hooning laws. And I just wanted to say that's a real thing. And Shawn definitely is a master hooner. I'll just say that. You know, what he was talking about a while back, just from 2008 when we were in San Francisco, is we're driving around doing all sorts of things, and then we find this brand new fresh freeway, and Shawn just lit it up, and it was just a beautiful permanent marker there for a while. So we do as little as we have to do, I'll say, for the rest of the world, but generally the character's the same. You know, the way it shifts, the way it handles, the way it sounds, to the most part, we try to make it the same. There might be other small things that have to do with, you know, crash, or that you have different radii that are allowed in certain countries, like, you know, maybe the grill can't have the same sharp corners that ours do, so we have to round things off. So I don't know, that's some of what comes to my mind. So follow up on that, Bob, or is that okay for you? You know, any question?
Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Can I just
Okay.
build on Bob's question? It's Todd from Ontario, Canada. Nice to meet everybody. I was interested in understanding why the 20s have that sort of shark fin antenna. Is that specific design change from the 19, and why would that have been done?
Yeah, see, it's perfect because you guys definitely know more than I do, and probably more than, but yeah, so the shark fin antenna came out, I guess, in 20. You know, I'll just say the shark fin antenna is pretty common on a lot of vehicles. Inside that antenna, you can add a lot of different features, different antennas. Since you're putting them all in one place, you can do it for less cost. We've got to be responsible to our company and our shareholders and cost and all that, which lets us then keep the car profitable, which lets us do the next one. So that in reality was related to cost. And a lot of people think it looks pretty cool, or they like the way it looks. And I think it might even be that we have, you know, I'm not sure what the satellite, SDARS satellite radio antennas in there. I'm not sure what else, but that I'm pretty sure, I think that's the answer to that question. But again, Nick or Shawn, please jump in if you, or Gina, if you know something different.
You hit it pretty well, Tom. It was actually a mid-year change, so early 20s won't have it, later 20s will. And it also, I think it ended up being like a tiny bit lighter too, because it's a more efficient design and the packaging of it. So everything Tom said is totally accurate. And it's just as technologies advance, right? Sometimes things can get lighter or smaller, and so we try to implement them.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
I'd like to say something. It's not actually a question. It's more of, I'm sure you get a lot of feedback. By the way, this is Tripp. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm in a car club. It's all exclusively Mustangs. And the two interesting things, one is that there is a young lady that has an 01 Bullitt in the True Blue. And when I got to know her a little bit and find out about the history, this is her second. Her first one was totaled by a drunk driver, and she spent an enormous amount of time hunting down a second one and found one with about 35,000 miles on it. What's interesting about that is how much she loves that car. She's 18. So an 18-year-old that knows Bullitt and then hunts down a second one identical to the one that she had before, I think is indicative of some of the passion that these cars, bring out even across the age board. And within that club, there are a lot of what I would say are some really cool Mustangs. We have, 3 or 4 GT350s. They're all late model for the most part, but heavily modded, and I'm the only 19 Bullitt in the group. And I've been told on more than one occasion by either a wife or a girlfriend or whatever that that is their favorite car in the club, is this 19 Bullitt, which kind of caught me off guard. But there's something about it that it catches their eye right away, but it's subtle, it's kind of understated, yet they just can't figure it out, and they love it. So from a design aspect and certainly from a performance and a sound aspect, you guys knocked it out of the park. Just wanted to pass that along on all three models. You guys really did a great job.
Hey, well, I'll thank you. And I wish, oh yeah, go ahead, Shawn,
No,
since you got the Phoenix connection. Thanks, Trip.
Yeah, they're all pretty awesome cars.
Yeah, and if anybody ever decides to do a Phoenix thing like you just described earlier, look at my name there and remember that name and find me, because I would love to come out and do that again.
Yeah, that's like that's the best stuff, when you can take things that we're working on, manage the corporate risk, shall we call it, but get the real customers into the cars, get the enthusiasts into the cars when we can, and just get like real feedback, you know. Like, I mean, in different points in my career I've done this, and you know, for as many times as I've been able to have those opportunities, and people give me this like, yeah, that sounds great, we love it, it's awesome. I mean, I've had plenty of instances where people were like, what the hell are you doing? Like, it sucks. Right, but like that like raw feedback, you know, I mean, it's sometimes like I'm guilty of it for sure. And I'm sure Tom's watched me go down these deep dark paths where he's like, where's he going with this? And somebody's got to reel me back in, because I would get some idea, vision, feeling, and I just chase it down for a while. And yeah, just, it's like anything else, getting that feedback is great, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, everybody's smiling, everybody's having a good time, and we're out roasting tires and other people's cars, so what's not to love about that?
Thank you, Shawn. And thank you, Trip, for those thoughts. More questions for Nick, Shawn, and Tom. And I was calling you Gina a little bit too. I know that's your lovely spouse, and I know you're signed on with her avatar, but you know, a little friendly ribbing there. Hopefully, no offense taken there, Shawn.
Oh no, it's always a compliment. It's way better than that.
There you go. More questions.
Yeah, Tony, I have a question for Nick, Tom, or Shawn. I have an '08 Bullitt, and it has the I call it the gun sights in the headlights. How did they come about? And I don't see too many of even the Mustangs with them in. Is that part of
the HID headlights?
Yeah, is that part of the HID light? Is that why that's there?
Yeah, I think that I know what you're talking about, just the general design of the HIDs. And we had actually looked at doing HID style headlamps on Mustang much earlier than that. Back in 2003, actually, on the Cobra, we had a set made up, and you know, at the time the technology was a lot more expensive, and so they kind of fell through. And then we were going to do it on the '07 Shelby, and then that didn't happen, and finally got it on the base Mustang as an option. And I mean, I love them. I think they look great. And, you know, kind of as you pointed out, not only do they look, you know, they look cool when they're lit up just because the color is a little different and they provide more performance, but when they're off, they're visually different too, which kind of gives you that added element. So I'm a fan of them. I think they're great.
I think it just makes that, they make that front end just look pissed off at you. It looks really good. Is there an aftermarket bulb that you can buy that is brighter than what's in the car? I've looked, I couldn't find any.
No, realistically, because of the optics of the lamp, you never want to, you want to use the factory element if you have to replace them.
Right.
Headlamp optics are unbelievably complex to get the right beam pattern. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people put different bulbs in their car, and it may seem brighter, but it doesn't really work well, and it can even be blinding to others. So realistically, your best option is to use what the factory part is and make sure the lens is clean. That's really the best thing, and that they're aimed properly. Those
Right.
are the best things.
Yeah, I think the only thing I've done to mine is I changed all the other lights to LED inside and out, but the headlights are still the same, and I love that design. It just makes that car look pissed off when it's looking at you.
I agree. I love it too. It looks good.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Charlie. Got time for a couple more questions, and I know I have a couple. I'm holding off because I would love to have others have their stay first.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, John.
Hey, everybody. I'm in the witness protection program here. Being
I was going to say you're definitely
Longtime
in the
owner.
witness protection program.
Longtime owner of a Queen 4, so I'm in the witness protection program here. But I had to hack into my neighbor's Wi-Fi in order to get on this. But with the distinguished guests you have on the panel tonight, I was willing to risk prison in order to see Mr. T, Nick, and the crew. So I don't really have a question. Just really wanted to give some more accolades to Nick and Shawn and Tom, the whole crew, because you really did phenomenal work on every model of these. The only one I don't own yet is a 19 or 20, but they're definitely on my bucket list. So keep up the great work, and thanks for all you do for the Big Blue Oval and us Mustang fans.
You're absolutely welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. And you definitely have the distinction of the most stealth-looking session connection for any of these meetings. Well done. More questions, please. We've got about 7 minutes. And again, I have a couple, but I don't want to take time away from anyone else who'd like to ask something.
Hello, I'm Greg. I have a question on the 2019. I would like to know what was the decision of why you went with black wheels versus the grayish dark charcoal, okay? Because they're very hard to keep clean, as you know, if you own one, you know?
Greg, thank you.
Oh, I guess I'm on. Well, I think that I'll just say so many things on a car have some kind of trade-off, and it may not work perfectly well for one person while it works perfectly well for other people. The key thing, you know, to the whole 19 and all these, like I said before, is the appearance. And you've just got to get the appearance something that people want to look at, that they're like, oh, look at that, it's so cool. And I'll just say that I think the design team looks at a lot of different things, and they lay them up there, and a lot of people marketing gets to say, hey, this is, we think yes, no, engineering, yes, no. And it sounds like on this one, the how often you have to clean the wheels is something that's not good for you. Sorry about that, but it's really just part of the styling decision. So I don't know if Nick or Shawn, you have something you want to add on that.
We run into these things all the time, honestly. Like every model year car, whether it's a Bullitt or another vehicle, right? And there's always, almost always, there's a passionate fight over, like, you know, you've got the guys that are all about like nailing the character and the image, you know, the cool factor, and like the hell with all these other requirements. And then you've got the people who are like, well, I'm responsible for warranty and the quality and all the complaints. You know, they're the complaint department. We're like, well, it sucks to be you. You know, go figure out go engineer something that kind of meets all the needs and all the requirements. You know, so Tom, like, it's not on the wheel thing, but Tom, remember on the 08 when we went with like the big exhaust tips, right? And we did those for acoustic reasons, really, and we ended up with like the cool the bigger 3-inch tip, and it was like the biggest one we'd done at the time, and we almost, I don't know if we almost didn't get it, but we got into these arguments with somebody on some phone call because they're like, well, if you back the car up over a curb, it'll like ding the tip or something. And it was like some ridiculous durability test or some kind of test. Some poor engineer, it was his job to go run this test. And we were sitting there like letting them say their piece or whatever. And we're like, if some idiot smashes his car in reverse up over a curb, and it was like a fast, like you were doing like 15 or 20 miles an hour. It was something stupid. It, like whatever driving scenario is describing, it was like almost unrealistic. And we're like, if you're really gonna try and stop something cool from going on this car, like get ready for a fight. And you know, we just kind of steamrolled over it, for lack of a better word.
You know,
Yeah.
I'll mention one thing that just like, I know on the 19 car, I mean, there was probably, if you look at the interior, the way that it's finished, the metal, the aluminum, you know, I bet you there was 6 different finishes looked at. I think on the wheels, there was probably 3 or 4. I know that the brakes, there was probably 10 different colors looked at. You know, so just all these elements, just, you know, and certain gloss levels. Should it be a high gloss, a low gloss? Should it be this or that? And so, you know, it just ends up where it ends up. So
I appreciate it. I just
Yeah.
was questioning that because I have an original 68 in the Bullitt scene, and you know, they're a dark gray, you know, and I was just hoping, you know, this car was like that because I had a 14 and that had charcoal gray wheels on it, and they would be dirty and you'd never notice it. And this car, I'm always cleaning them. I find myself cleaning them way too much, you know. So I just share that with you.
Sorry about that, but yeah.
No,
So
that's okay.
acknowledged.
It's a great
Okay.
car. It's a small trade-off. Trust me, I'm just, you know, bringing that up as a question, just, you know, let you know.
I'm gonna show up
Thank
with a
you.
bucket and a sponge. They'll take care of it.
As my wife would say, that's a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
Very good question.
All right, thank you.
for that. By the way, that choice of design was also another plug for the book. If you read into Mustang Bullitt Generations, you'll see that particular detail also covered. You know, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is definitely with what these guys have shared tonight. You know, if you jump back into the book and look at, well, now you know, you've talked to the people who I've, you know, had the good fortune to talk to, and you've heard them. It's hard sometimes to capture the passion in writing, but you know, I quoted where I could, and where I didn't, of course, was trying to capture the essence of what they said. But you know, take a look back in there and know that these 3 gentlemen here have been a big part of what has made the Mustang Bullitt cars what they are. And we're probably about a minute to go. Does anyone else have a very short question? Because I'd like to just make a final comment and then close us out.
Hi, Tony. It's Norm again. Just
Hey.
want to make one comment. I got my mailing of the book yesterday. I'm afraid to open it because it looks so good in the plastic wrap.
Oh.
It's number 417. I really don't want to touch it, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. Thanks.
Thank you, Norm. I'm glad it came okay. Hey, as I mentioned to folks, you can buy one to collect and buy one to read. So I'll throw that out there. But no, thank you. I'm glad you got it okay. We've
got it okay.
We've actually, I'm glad it came in okay. We've had some problems with the mail handling. Some of our folks have unfortunately had damaged ones, and they've had to be replaced. So
made it in Mississauga, Ontario, and I think in record time. I think I ordered it about a week and a half ago and got it yesterday.
Wow, phenomenal and fantastic. Thank you, Norm.
Let me interrupt you, Tony, before you say anything. I just want to tell you, I think your book's fantastic. I really do. It's cool. I read. I mean, I'll say I read parts of it completely, and other parts I, you know, just paged through. But
Sure.
you got. I mean, there's cool pictures. There's good, Art Hyde talking and Paul and Carl and all this, and the fact then you had the customers and their cars, not just the original cars or how people modified it. So you did a fantastic job on this, and I know you love Bullitt, and so congratulations. Great job.
Thank you.
Tony, it's like, honestly, like when I read it, I'm like, it's a very different book from anything I've ever written or read, in the car industry, and it's like a Valentine, honestly. It talks about like the substance of things that everybody gets excited about, and then it's all, honestly, I knew a lot of the people that you wrote about in the book, like the different owners, and you're touching on like the parts of their lives that brought them to the car and what was special about not just the car, but like what it kind of meant in their life. And that's what I thought of, like, telling my wife, was like, it's like a big Valentine, it's really sweet. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Tony, I was fortunate to help edit a little bit of it, and I could tell just Tom and Shawn both said it. What's really cool about it is it's a unique perspective. It's kind of the journey of the car from a development standpoint, and then certainly the way the customers get to enjoy it. And all three programs, while they're different programs with different people, they still had that same essence. And I think it's the coolness factor and it's the fun, which are the two things that never go out of style, and why people love Mustang so much, and certainly the Bullitt. So it's great.
Yeah, thank you. All of you helped to bring spectacular content to it, and I appreciate you being willing to do that. And yes, I have described it as my long love letter to the Mustang Bullitt for sure. So awesome. Is there anything else from anyone?
Just a quick question for Nick. When you're at Mustang Alley, I want you to get you to sign my trunk lid. I've got Scott's autograph on it already, so need to get yours on it.
Sure, I'm flattered, but yeah, glad that we need to make sure we have it next year, since
I know we missed out this year. So yeah, first one I've missed in about 10 years. So
I know it was a tough pill to swallow for everybody in the area, but I'm sure, hopefully, but I don't want to say I'm sure, but I'm pretty confident next year we'll all be there. So
yeah, I know we've had John Clore come to our hotel, give us a speech. We normally fill up like 120 rooms in Auburn Hills with our club members. So we have a good time there.
He's one of a kind. He's one of the best.
Is. Well, again, Nick, Shawn, and Tom, thank you so much. And to all of the attendees, those who asked questions and those who just were taking this in, thank you so much for your time here. I will say you guys have set a record for the most attended session of all of my sessions. I had to open up some more room and I was figuring you guys would get a draw, because just like when we see in person, if we had that opportunity, I know you get a lot of people coming around. So thank you so much. Okay, with that, we'll conclude the session, and we'll make the recording available, hopefully up on the book website within the next couple of weeks. But thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a good evening and a good rest of your week.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Great session.
It was a pleasure being here.